The night sky over the Persian Gulf suddenly caught fire. Missiles cut through the darkness like burning knives. Warplanes roared over cities that had not slept for days. From Tehran to Bandar Abbas, the air itself felt heavy. Every hour brought new explosions. Military bases, missile installations, strategic factories. One by one, they were targeted. It looked like the opening chapter of a war meant to break a nation. And then, the rumor appeared. A rumor powerful enough to shake the entire Middle East. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was said to be dead, the architect of Iran's modern resistance. The man Washington had watched for decades. The leader Israel considered its most dangerous adversary. If he was truly gone, everything would change. Because despite the bombs, Iran did not collapse. Its government did not disappear. Its military did not stop fighting. Instead, something unexpected happened. Iran began striking back. American bases across the region reported incoming attacks. Tel Aviv's skies lit up with ballistic interceptions. Shipping lanes trembled as the Strait of Hormuz became a battlefield. The world began asking a single question. If Iran's leader was gone, who was commanding the war? Was Ayatollah Khamenei still alive? Or had his system become something far more powerful than one man? To understand that answer, we must go back to the beginning of the storm, the 15 days that shook the Middle East. It began quietly, almost invisibly. February 28th. The first wave of strikes hit military installations. Missile defense systems were among the earliest targets. Then the attacks spread city by city. Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, Mashhad, Bandar Abbas. Within days, the war expanded across Iran. Air defense networks were targeted repeatedly. Missile sites, naval bases, command centers, factories linked to Iran's drone program. The objective seemed clear. Break the infrastructure, break the military chain of command, and the state itself would collapse. But that was only the beginning. By the fifth day, the war reached Iran's naval forces. Several Iranian vessels were reportedly destroyed. American officials claimed more than 17 ships were sunk, among them vessels belonging to the Revolutionary Guard Navy. Reports even suggested the loss of a drone carrier. Meanwhile, Iran's aging fighter jets were also targeted. Some were destroyed on the ground. Others never left their hangars. The pressure was immense. And then came the most shocking reports. Iran's leadership had been targeted. Some claimed the commander of the Revolutionary Guard had been killed. Others said the supreme leader himself was gone. The rumors spread like wildfire across the internet. If true, the Iranian system should have collapsed immediately. But instead, missiles began launching in the opposite direction. Iran was striking back, which raised a question no one could answer. The retaliation began quietly, but it did not stay quiet for long. Radar stations across the region suddenly detected multiple launches. Missiles were heading toward American military installations, across the Persian Gulf, across Iraq, and toward Israel. Ballistic missiles lit up the skies over the Mediterranean. The war had officially expanded beyond Iran's borders. But the most dangerous escalation was still coming. The world's most important oil choke point. Nearly 1/5 of global oil passes through this narrow corridor. And suddenly, it became a battlefield. Reports emerged that sea mines had been deployed. Commercial ships began rerouting in panic. Insurance costs for tankers skyrocketed overnight. The global economy was suddenly watching the Gulf. But inside Iran, something even more important was happening. Despite the bombings, the system was still functioning. Orders were still being issued. Missiles were still launching. And retaliation continued, which meant one thing. Iran's war machine did not depend on one man. It depended on a system built decades earlier. A system created after the revolution of 1979. A system designed specifically to survive war. At the first layer stood the conventional army, known as the Artesh. Its job was simple: defend the nation's borders. But the second layer was far more powerful. The Revolutionary Guard, a military force but also an ideological shield. It controlled missile programs, drone technology, and covert operations abroad. But even that was not the final layer. Across Iran, millions of civilians belonged to another force, a volunteer militia embedded in society. The Basij. But Iran's resilience cannot be explained by military structure alone. To understand why the country still stands, you must look at its geography. Iran is not an easy battlefield. To the north rise the Alborz Mountains, guarded by the towering peak of Mount Damavand. To the west stretches another barrier, the Zagros Mountains, a natural fortress carved by geography itself. To the east lie vast deserts, the scorching emptiness of Dasht-e-Lut, and the immense salt plains of Dasht-e-Kavr. Moving armies across such terrain is never easy. But geography alone cannot explain Iran's endurance. Because Iran is not just a country. It is one of the world's oldest civilizations. Empires rose here thousands of years ago. The Persian Empire once ruled lands from Egypt to India. And even when empires collapsed, Persian culture endured, language endured, and memory endured. One man helped preserve that memory, the poet who wrote the Shahnameh, a story of kings, warriors, and resistance. A story every generation remembers. That cultural memory still shapes the nation today. Because when outside powers attack, internal divisions often disappear. The population becomes united, and resistance becomes a national identity. That is why the system did not collapse. Because the system was built to survive war. It was designed to survive assassinations. And it was designed to survive chaos. Which brings us back to the original question. Is Ayatollah Khamenei alive? Perhaps. Perhaps not. But by now, the answer may not matter. Because the real power was never just one man. It was the system built to endure,